Today at Watching Casio, I'm going to be reviewing some G-Shock Aftermarket Bezels. That's right, if you're a G-Shock fan, this is the simplest and easiest way to give your old G-Shock a new look. All three of these sharp-looking, all-metal bezels come directly from AliExpress and are shipped right out of China. Alright, so these bezels are not affiliated or sponsored by Casio in any way. They are all created by third-party vendors in China. They make great bezels in China. Good people over there. The best. Tremendous bezels. And if you're willing to wait anywhere from 6 weeks to 7.5 months, you too can have your own aftermarket bezel. So let's dive right in and see what came right off the boat. Alright, so the first bezel in this list is for the GWM5610, and this is a titanium bezel. And again, I purchased this one from AliExpress. I will leave a link in the description below to the exact page. And yes, I shelled out about $80 for this bezel. Was it worth it? Well, I don't know. But you can also get the titanium bracelet for this as well, making it a full titanium set. And that one will set you back about $160, which is pretty steep. So I already installed this bezel on my watch, and here is the original bezel from the GWM5610. This is just your standard resin bezel that comes originally with the watch. But my beloved G-Shock now has a solid titanium bezel, which is held in place by 4 screws, 2 on each of the lugs. And actually, I think this bezel is really sharp looking. Honestly, I wish it was matte instead of glossy. But right on the front there, you can see that the top part of the bezel is brushed. So it does give it a nice kind of two-tone look. But it fits on there really nicely. I didn't have any issues putting it on. It slides right on and screws into place. And I think it looks pretty decent with the resin band. And you can see here that over on the side part of the bezel, that part is brushed as well. But yeah, this case is definitely pretty glossy. Now before I put this on, I was actually wondering if this titanium bezel would affect the multi-band 6 syncing. And yes, I don't have a received indicator on right now. I do live in the Northeast, so it's sometimes hit or miss to get the signal. But so far I have had no issues picking up the signal and syncing this watch overnight. I usually leave it on a windowsill facing west. So yeah, there you go. This case is pretty nice. Solid titanium. Looks really sharp. So here's a good comparison shot of the old bezel with the new one. And you can see that the brushed part of the bezel is definitely a little wider on the titanium one. But that's probably the biggest difference. One thing you might notice is that the side portion is a little bit taller on the titanium bezel. So it's not exactly perfect. But you will never notice, and it's a pretty good copy. Alright, so why don't we give this a look on the wrist. I'll go ahead and take off my DW5610 and put this brand new bezel on. Alright, so there you go. Here's the GWM5610 with a solid titanium brushed / glossy bezel. I think I'm going to keep this one on. This is my original G-Shock, the first one I ever got. So it definitely has a little place in my heart. But now it's slightly upgraded, and I really like it, so give it a shot. Check out the link below if you're interested. Alright, so bezel number 2 is going to go on my DW5600. I really like this skeletonized G-Shock. This is the one that comes with a clear band and a clear bezel, and it's got that really awesome mirrored dial. So for this one, I actually wanted to complement that mirrored dial with a solid stainless steel shiny bezel to give it kind of that Terminator look. So I went back over to AliExpress, and you can see here that if I click on this one right here, I paid about $26 for the 5600 stainless steel bezel You can also get a bracelet for about 34 bucks, or you can combine the two and get the whole set for about $61. And here's a couple different shots of their product page. Definitely a much more reasonable price than solid titanium. So head on over to the link in the description and check it out. So here's the solid stainless steel bezel, and it's brushed on top, which is a nice contrast to the shiny, glossy exterior. And this does come with some stickers that you put inside. So there's 2 black stickers you put on each side, and then there is a square-shaped sticker that you put inside. Also, these just kind of help protect the watch itself when you put on the new bezel. So this one is ready to go. It feels pretty nicely made. There are no burrs or anything like that. It's very shiny, definitely. And it's got that nice brush look on top, which I really like. And these are super easy to install. You just unscrew 4 screws, pop off the bezel, and put this one on. So let's go check out this quick installation process. Alright, so like I said, this is actually really easy. You just need a tiny Phillips head screwdriver. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws holding down this bezel. And once you loosen up those screws, you can just pry off the resin bezel. Alright, so here we go. We're just going to use a fingernail to pry off that bezel. And there's my naked 5600 with the mirrored dial. And here are the 2 bezels side by side. And yes, the stainless steel one is essentially a carbon copy of the resin one. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the new bezel on the watch. Should easily snap right into place. Piece of cake. Alright, let's go ahead and put in the 4 screws and tighten them down. Alright, so there you go, looking sharp. This DW5600 looks especially nice with that mirrored dial and the glossy, shiny finish of this new stainless steel bezel. It definitely adds some weight to the watch, which, you know, isn't a bad thing. Kind of makes it feel more hefty and sturdy. But man, I think that looks really great. Here's a quick side-by-side comparison with the old bezel. So let's pop this thing on my wrist and check out the final product. And there you go. I think it looks pretty awesome. I'm very happy with the final product. It's definitely a little chunky, but it sits pretty well on my 6.75 inch wrist. It's not really hanging over the edge of my wrist at all. So I really enjoy this mod. So check out the link in the description below if you want to pick this one up. And last but not least, let's check out Casio's G-Shock GA2100. This is the carbon core guard watch that was released last year. And here's the bezel on this one. This is your typical G-Shock bezel as well with 4 screws. And today I'm going to replace that with a shiny stainless steel bezel. So here's the webpage where you can pick this one up on AliExpress. There are actually a bunch of different variants. This is one I ordered for about 40 bucks with the screws on top, but it also comes with the words around the bezel as well. And it also comes in a couple different black variants and also gold variants as well. And you do have the option of purchasing the bezel along with a bracelet. So give it a look. I left the link down in the description below, and let me know what you think. So here's the package delivered from China via AliExpress. And again, it comes with a standard screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver. Normally you would have the band right here in the middle, but I actually opted not to go with that. Probably just a little bit too much for my wrist. So here's the bezel. Let's pry it out, and it's all wrapped up in plastic. So let's get that off and give it a good look. So here you go. As you can see, it's got 8 fake screws around the bezel. On the brushed portion of the bezel, actually it's kind of tough to tell. I'm not really sure if those are fake or not. Some of them kind of look like they might have actually been screwed down and then filed over. And then if you look on the underside of the bezel here, you can kind of see what looks like little holes for screws. So, it's a little tough to tell, but maybe those are actual screws that they just then file down. It doesn't necessarily look like it's part of the molding process. Interesting. Alright, so let's undo these 4 screws and get this resin bezel off. Alright, so again, let me use my fingernail here and get off this bezel. And this bezel actually seems to have 8 points on it too, so obviously that's part of the molding process, and those were trimmed off after the bezel was formed. But here are the 2 bezels side by side, and they look pretty identical in size. And here's a cross-section look, and it looks like they did a pretty decent job of matching up the design of the bezel. Alright, so here's my naked GA2100. Let's go ahead and pop on this new stainless steel bezel. Really fits on there nicely with no problem at all. Looks like all the screw holes line up. Let's get these screws back in and check it out. So one thing you got to be careful of when you're working with these tiny screws is that you don't strip the hole inside. So first put your screw in, then put the screwdriver on and rotate it counterclockwise until you feel a tiny little click, and then go forward clockwise. It's really easy to strip the inside of these tiny holes if you use too much force. So there you go. There is the new solid stainless steel bezel on my GA2100. And man, that looks awesome. That is totally blinged out. I think it complements the black strap really nicely. It's a little bit gaudy, but man, due to the shape of that bezel, that hexagon pattern, the brush top there with the shiny sides, that is super nice looking. I think out of the 3, this is my favorite bezel. Let me strap this one on and see how it looks on my wrist. So here you go on my 6.75 inch wrist. Yeah, this bezel definitely adds a bunch of weight to my GA2100, but it feels good. I love the way it looks. Not too big, not too gaudy, but man, that is sharp looking. And here's one more alternate view looking down my arm. So there you go. Check out the link in the description if you want to pick one of these up for yourself. I highly recommend it. Alright, so just to recap, we've got the GWM5610 with a brand new solid titanium glossy and brushed bezel. This is my first original G-Shock and I'm loving the new look. Then we've got the DW5600 skeletonized G-Shock with the mirrored dial and the transparent band, sporting a solid stainless steel, shiny, glossy, and brushed bezel. And the GA2100 carbon core guard G-Shock with the black resin bracelet and the glossy and brushed hexagonal solid stainless steel bezel. Super hot. So which one out of these 3 bezels is your favorite? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. As usual, I really appreciate you stopping by and checking out these videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps out the channel a lot. So check out the links in the description below, and we hope to catch you next time at Watching Casio.